To shed more light on Bayek's statement, let's go now live to Washington, D.C. Joining us from there, Michael Rubin, the resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. We are pleased to have you again on Ronahi, Mr. Rubin. Bayek said in his interview with the Austrian Der Standard that everyone thought Kobane would fall in a week. What were your expectations? And give us, please, your views on what is going on in Kobane.
Well, I had a great deal of faith in the YPG, the leadership in Kobane ever since my visit to Rojava earlier this year. That said, it's been quite amazing to see the resistance which the Kurds have put up inside Kobane, and it certainly has put not only the Kurds, but especially the PKK on the map inside Washington and led many people to reconsider just what they understood about the PKK.
While the West wants to combat ISIS, Turkey is supporting it against the Kurds. That's what Jamil Bayek said. What kind of impact will these different policies of the West and Turkey have on their relations, Mr. Rubin?
Well, increasingly, people in Washington understand that Turkey has become almost like Pakistan on the Mediterranean. They understand the diplomats may say one thing, and we may like what the diplomats say, but the reality of what Turkey is doing is quite different. There's absolutely no doubt that Recep Tayyip Erdogan is supporting Daesh, is supporting the Islamic State. People fully recognize this now, and it has started to lead to a reassessment of just how much a relationship the United States should have with Turkey. Even when mainstream newspapers like the Wall Street Journal are questioning Turkey's role in NATO, that suggests that there's been a huge change in perceptions inside Washington.
Bayek also said that Turkey allowed the Peshmergas to cross into Kobane because of both the resistance in Kobane and the international pressure. What is your perspective on this? Why did Turkey allow the Peshmergas to cross into Kobane, Mr. Rubin?
Well, I fully agree that those two reasons are important. Look, when it comes to Turkey's calculations, they consider Bashar al-Assad enemy number one inside Syria. They consider the PKK and the Kurds in general enemy number two. And they consider ISIS a distant third if it's an enemy at all. They were surprised. They wanted to see the Kurds get slaughtered inside Syria. They were surprised at the resistance which was put up in Kobane. Therefore, what they did is they wanted to allow Masoud Barzani's Peshmerga to come in so that they could claim some share of the victory and try to take the shine off the PKK. But you know, this entrance of the KDP's Peshmerga is nothing more than symbolic. Everyone knows it's the YPG that's doing the fighting inside Kobane, and no one's going to take that away from the Kurds.
Mm-hmm. How does the American policymakers look now at Rojava after the events in Kobane?
Well, you know, there's still a long way to go in order to formally recognize the achievements of Rojava. That said, people are starting to recognize that the policy we've had up until about a year ago, up until the Geneva process, simply won't work, that there has to be some recognition of the federalism which exists inside Syria right now with Rojava, that there has to be some recognition of what the Kurds have achieved on the ground, and the fact that the United States has provided airdrops to Kobane, to effectively Rojava, also suggests what a difference a few years make and what a difference the symbolic fight has made.
The U.S. coalition's support in Kobane against ISIS currently consists of airstrikes and aid droppings. Could we expect any developments in the given support to YPG and TYPG?
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of disappointment in Washington at just how little the United States is doing right now. You know, when the United States was involved in Bosnia, we had on average 160 sorties a day. When we were involved in Afghanistan, we had on average 90-some-odd sorties a day, according to the Wall Street Journal. With regard to what's going on in Syria, we have on average 7 sorties a day, 7 bombing raids a day. That's not enough to make a difference. So there's a lot of pressure in Washington, especially after the most recent elections, to actually ramp up the assistance which the United States is giving, and I would hope that Rojava would get a portion of that assistance.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot for your analysis, Michael Rubin, the resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. Thank you very much for speaking to us on Ronahi.
Thank you.